Hello and welcome to Chamber Voices. I'm Andy Johnston, and I am so excited to be sitting down today with Jen Crowley, owner and chief marketing officer of Highland Group and your Chamber Board Chair for 2025. Jen, thank you so much for serving as chair of the Chamber Board. But this isn't your first go around. This is your second time. So thank you for answering the call to do that, not just once, but twice. As you look back on your term of service on the board, what stands out to you about, taking time out of your busy day, running your team, trying to accomplish your goals, and giving it back to the business community in this way?
Andy, one of the things at this particular moment, right, we're near the end of the calendar year. Our business, like a lot of businesses, are planning for their new fiscal. So it's kind of naturally a time for reflection. And this year, I think, has really stood out to me for how much change it feels like the chamber has lived with versus in my first term in 2023. And I think some of the big things like the uncertainty around tariffs, like how many conversations did we have early in the year about that? AI, has really just, I don't want to say come out of nowhere because that's not true, but has made such a big difference. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. And so what I feel really good about in this term and what the chamber has continued to do is relentlessly advocate for business, to support the things that make our community a great place to be, but not just in a broad way, but in a very specific way. So if you're a small business and you're looking to grow, like the programs through the Center for Economic Inclusion, if you want to network with people like that are either peers as a CEO or other functional leaders, the CEO roundtable, like they're real meaningful ways that your engagement in the chamber can help your business grow. And a growing business community helps create a thriving Grand Rapids.
Love to hear you say that because, as you know, your chamber team is trying to take, complex issues, boil them down. We're trying to drive policy that will help our business environment in a big way, at a big scale, that can sometimes be hard to see, but then also coupling it with those personal touches and the personal services that can really help an individual leader create a better business, create a better team, and provide those kind of supports.
Absolutely. I think, you think about, I'm a small business owner, right? My husband and I own a business. We're going to celebrate our 25th anniversary as a business next year. So we, looking forward to that. But what are the things that continue to, be a challenge, our perpetual challenges for business, large and small, right? How are we growing? How is our revenue being distributed? Are we well balanced so we're not overly risked in a particular area? How are we attracting talent? What's the business environment like, both locally and a state level? So it makes it easy for us to focus on the business that we're doing and not, stuck unreasonably in a regulatory morass.
Because there's just a healthy paranoia that's small business owners. Is it healthy?
I don't know. It is what it is.
It is a paranoia.
It any other way. Yeah.
And when you've, spoken at annual meeting, the first go around about when you were coming in as the board chair, you talked about your starting your business and it started because people lost some jobs, and there was an opportunity, and you talked about just working through the yellow pages and saying, maybe we can find some customers and make this thing happen. And now here you are at 25 years.
I know. It's crazy.
That's
it's absolutely crazy.
And so Highland Group, you work with businesses of all sizes, small businesses up to Fortune 500 companies. Yeah. What do you love most maybe, or what's unique about this West Michigan business community?
Well, everyone always says public-private partnerships, but I don't think that can be oversold. I think the posture that all of the stakeholders in our community have had about working together have helped change the literal landscape of Grand Rapids. If you think about what the skyline of Grand Rapids looked like in the year 2000, and you picture it in the year 2025, Medical Mile, the hotels, we've got transformational projects like the stadium and the amphitheater going up. So that public-private partnership is real. But a thing that I think is emerging, and I know the chamber is thinking about this, and I'm really glad, is keeping ownership local. Mm-hmm. I think that is going to be an emerging theme as we move into the next several years, that we've got baby boomers who are continuing to retire. We're lucky to have an environment where there's a lot of private business ownership, and it's good for our community to keep that. So I think that's another part that maybe hasn't gotten as much focus as that magic of the public-private partnership, but one that will really be critical. So the work that the chamber wants to do, but also even Family Business Alliance to really support and uphold that, I think is going to be really important going forward.
Because that's been a key part of the public-private partnership recipe is having business leaders who own their own companies leaning in and working with those civic leaders, those government officials, to drive better outcomes. And I don't want to lose the first part of your answer either, which is, man, how exciting it's been over the last 25 years to see where Grand Rapids has come. I left in the late 90s to not go that far away to
Seek
East
your
Lansing.
fortune.
But even in that short time, watching the transformation of downtown from the mid 90s to the early 2000s. And then to see it continue to grow, that doesn't happen by accident. And not every city has seen that kind of growth and development. There's a reason that LinkedIn has called us the #1 city on the rise. It's because of that intentional work by business leaders who own their own company. They can focus on that.
But I also think it's the work of the chamber and other business supportive organizations like the Right Place that help advance the cause of a flourishing business climate and allow those business leaders to use that success in turn and give that back to the community in terms of time and talent and treasure. So we continue to create a place where business can thrive, where talent wants to come, where it's a great place to raise a family. I mean, all of those things, like it takes everybody to do that.
And as a longtime chamber member and business owner, you've been invested deeply with that time and that talent and that treasure. What would you tell a future member or a prospective member about the value of getting engaged in the chamber and the chamber's work?
I think a lot of businesses probably start with somewhat of a transactional approach to the relationship. I'm paying for a membership. What do I get from it? And so probably the first and easiest thing to touch is like networking and connections, right? I didn't know a person. Now I know a person. You had an event. I learned a thing. Like it starts kind of transactionally. But I think the more that you get involved by attending events, if you volunteer for a committee, eventually I sat on the board, but I started really coming out of Leadership Grand Rapids. So I was involved in a program. I was able to give back and serve on that program. And you start to see kind of that wider contribution that all of these other really busy business leaders, like everyone is busy, right, are making the time because a thriving business climate, a thriving business community, like really helps all of us, right? Big companies in town can hire smaller companies like mine. Smaller companies can have opportunities to grow. And all of that comes from like us as a community working together. So if you're a prospective member, I think, yes, absolutely come, make new contacts, attend events and programs, like get education, send your team, but leaning in, like there's always time. And I'm so impressed and respectful when I look around our board meetings and I see all the people and the companies they represent and the titles that they have, that they continue to make time, they come prepared for meetings, they take seriously the responsibility of their stewardship for the chamber insofar as it represents the stewardship of our business community.
And thank you for saying that, and thank you for your service again, because it really is, and it demonstrates how the chamber is really member-driven and how those business leaders are thinking about what can we do to best serve the broader business community. And I think, thanks to your leadership and those other volunteer leaders, we're now nearing 3,000 members. It's weird to me sometimes that we are one of the largest chambers in the country. We are, tier 1 up against the, those other big name cities out there. And there's strength in those numbers.
Absolutely.
And the chamber team has really been trying to be thoughtful on maintaining personal connection with members while we continue to grow. And you were talking about attending events. That is one of the chamber's superpower. Is convening people. And what we tell our events team, while we're working through 160 days plus of programming, is that you're putting on an event and there's so many details and different things, but you're not even aware of all the magic that takes place at an event.
Absolutely.
It's hard to quantify all those relationships that get made there. Not everybody tells you that, but it really is, it's a membership for a reason. And sometimes I equate it to a gym membership of, you do get out what you put in.
Absolutely.
And it also doesn't take too much effort. It does take intentional effort, but you can really get a lot out of it. And one of the things we're really trying to help people with is, if your company's a member, all your employees are a member, you can come to the chamber offices. I know you've been an advocate for that with some of your teams. Like, go to the chamber offices. There was a member of your team, you were on him. He happened to be at the chamber. He's like, whoa, he got blown away when he was here. He's like, I can come use this?
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely.
Andy, how long have you guys been in the space? Like 7-8 years, maybe?
Yeah.
I remember the old space, and I always jokingly say, like, I just think of darkness. And it's not because the chamber wasn't doing great things. I just think there were low ceilings. But this space, and when you moved in at the beginning, and then the expansion that happened in 2023, and I think opened in 2023, so a couple years now, to see it filled with members who are doing here for offsites, doing strategic planning, for people who are stopping by, for independent, individual people who are running their own business or consulting, that they can come here and make those network and like those kind of serendipitous connections. I think it is a representation of the work you're trying to do. So the things we said earlier, right? You can meet people, you can learn new things. The chamber is literally the physical embodiment of that.
And at a time when, maybe it's partly post-COVID, maybe it's partly technology, where some of those relationships are a little harder to come by. Yeah. Some people have kind of retreated into their bubbles. I'm not, dogged remote work or anything like that. But that's been one of the exciting things about our collaborative office space, to see those things happening, and just the power that that collisional networking, the serendipitous connections can have, and can fill people's buckets on a regular basis.
I think not just other business leaders and business members of the community, but connecting with chamber staff and understanding all of the work that you guys are doing. I had the opportunity last week, as you know, to join you guys for a book club talking about unreasonable hospitality. And we had read that book at Highland Group for some of our team, really thinking deeply about how that impacts our service delivery. But I wish that there could have been a video camera to see your team and how they had, so many people had individually thought about, I have a role to play in making a chamber member's experience better. That is so inspiring. I can't wait to share it next week or the week after Thanksgiving when we have our next board meeting. Is when you say it's your Grand Rapids chamber, you always say that's kind of one of your signature phrases. But all of those actions that the team chooses to take, that does make a difference. It does make you feel like this is your chamber. You belong here. You have a physical place to come and work, but also you have a bigger team behind you. And as a small business, that makes a huge difference for us to know that we have experts we can call and people who are focused on things like talent development and training in ways that we're not able to do because our company is just smaller.
Yeah, we're an extension of your team.
Absolutely.
We're going to help make you better.
And we haven't even talked about advocacy.
We're stronger together.
So.
Yeah. But I knew you were going to work in unreasonable hospitality into this conversation. And for our listeners, we're not getting any referral bonus, but
that's right.
Jen tipped us off to this and highly recommend it for any business. And what you talked about is, how the team can make people's days, but it also has an effect on the team because you get more gratification out of your work when you're creating those personal connections and serving members. At least I do. I always say, working at the chamber, it's a get-to job, not a got-to job.
And you celebrated your 20th anniversary this year at the chamber. And Andy, a standout part for me was just a little thing of asking other board members, like, share with me a reflection about Andy. And I said to you, it was a gift to me to get to hear those stories on all of the work that you've done over the years and the way that you continue to show up for members and listen to the concerns that they have and then turn with the team and say, how can we address these issues? It makes a huge difference.
Well, it's an honor, and we're going to move on from that real quickly because before I get
you don't want to talk
too
about
emotional. But speaking of anniversaries, I guess that's a really great segue. America's having a big one.
We are.
America's turning 250. We're recognizing the 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and there's a local initiative called GRA 250 that's out there that you've been very involved in as we prepare for this anniversary. What should the business community understand about this effort? Why is it important to our community?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, it's going to be a celebration, right? 250 years of this great American experiment, an opportunity to reflect on those core founding principles. But so much of that is reflected in our business community today, right? We have a thriving entrepreneurial network, we have innovators and leaders. And that very much, I think, draws from some of those like energizing principles. So, part one, definitely a celebration. But part two, I think, a call to civic engagement. And that can be at a simple level, like helping employees, giving them opportunities maybe for volunteering, encouraging people to register to vote. But it's also this thing that we've already talked about with a public-private partnership of like a call for business to be engaged in charting a strong future for Grand Rapids. And so that civic engagement piece might seem like maybe a bit abstract, but if you take a moment, it really is about doing the hard work of showing up, of being part of the conversation, part of planning so you can own the solution and create that greater Grand Rapids, that thriving and prosperous West Michigan for all.
And I'm on a mission to make civics cool.
Yeah.
And maybe I think the name is a bit of a hang up, or the term. It's because civics is really just how we solve problems together
Absolutely.
as a community,
yeah, as
right?
a people.
And group work's hard.
It's messy.
And it's feeling harder for a lot of
Absolutely.
people right now, just with a lot of things happening in our environment. But this is an opportunity to come together. West Michigan, again, public-private partnerships, that is civics, right?
Yep.
That is coming together to solve those problems. So it's an opportunity to do that. What would you, if a business member is listening to this, member of the business community, how might they be able to get engaged in GRA 250?
Yeah, I think first of all, there's a steering committee and a large volunteer network with several subcommittees helping plan around 4 signature events. And so financial support for any of those things would be a fantastic welcome. I'll tell you the 4 things are a democracy cafe, obviously a celebration around the 4th of July itself, a time capsule. Let's like commemorate this moment in history. Also on the heels of Grand Rapids' 175th birthday. So really feeling timely, I think, for our whole community. Mm-hmm. And the 4th is that call to civic engagement, particularly with a focus on the youth. And so, as more mature people, Andy, in the room, how are we going to encourage young people, students today, to think about problems in their community and how they have a voice and a vote, right? Mm-hmm. And an action to take to make it better, that to realize that you can be a part of that solution mm-hmm. is critical. So businesses, 1, funding, mm-hmm. 2, a call to be involved for themselves as an organization, allow time for their people. Like I said, it could be as simple as volunteering, but just being involved in community.
And businesses, organizations, you're already planning things to do in 2026. Maybe weave in
Absolutely.
These GRA 250 components. You can find a lot more information on that website.
Absolutely.
It might inspire your team about what they can do.
Yep. Reach out to gra250.com. There's contact information and forums, and we'll help you get engaged.
And of course, if anybody knows a middle schooler, 6th through 8th grade,
yes,
that wants to write a brief essay about solving a community problem, they can be part of the West Michigan Civics Bee hosted by your Grand Rapids Chamber.
That's right.
And if you make the top 20, you get to go to the live event at the Gerald R. Ford Museum,
and
where it's
hopefully
really cool.
That inspires someone to want to be involved in civic leadership in the future. And those are future business leaders. Those are future community leaders. And we want to make sure they're prepared and ready.
So speaking of leadership, you're known as a leader that has led with purpose, curiosity. Any leadership advice that you've either picked up or have been given along the way that's made a big impact on you?
A core behavior at Highland Group, we have 3 core behaviors: be curious, be awesome, be essential. And it starts with curiosity. We talk a lot about what does that look like? I don't have to be an expert in developing websites or being a graphic designer. I have team members that can do that, but they need me to be the expert in the things that I'm good at. And if we all bring that natural curiosity of being better at our jobs, being interested in the client and the problem that they have, we're going to be good at what we do. That makes us awesome. And if we're great at that, then we'll be essential to each other and to teammates. So I think so much of how I move about the world is really rooted in that just general belief and curiosity. And I think for me, it way predates Ted Lasso, and I feel like compelled to say it. But in all ways, it is fascinating to see all the different ways that businesses can make money, right? And all of the services and products and pieces of products. You look at this microphone in front of us and think about how many different parts are in there and made by how many different organizations. You know, we got to listen to this morning to Consumers Energy talk about how they deliver power. I mean, the world is amazing. And so I think that curiosity is really essential. And I'll have one other thing to add. I have a picture in my office, used to hang in my dad's office before he retired. It's 2 football players giving a high five after a great play. And my dad used to close the door. It was hanging behind the door in his office. And he would say, that is a picture of men having fun at work. And even though I am one of his 3 daughters, I take it for what it is, which is we spend a lot of time, you know, in our work lives. And so let's make it great.
Yeah. And, you know, it's about people.
Absolutely.
When you talk about like what it takes to put this teams of people that bring that together. And that's what business is, right? Teams of people using their collective imagination, ingenuity to solve problems, make things better, hopefully while having fun too. So, you know, as you look at the year ahead, 2026, obviously 250th anniversary of America, what's giving you confidence about Grand Rapids and where West Michigan is headed?
So, of course, excited to celebrate our 250th birthday as a country.
And having everybody join in.
And having everybody join in and having the business community really rise to the occasion. I'm excited for the transformational projects to come online, and not just to attend my first concert at the amphitheater, but for the opportunity for business development. I think that will come around and alongside those projects. And I'm confident because I feel good about where the chamber is. I am so impressed with the leadership and the staff, how much you guys have grown and evolved in the time that I've been involved over the last several years. But the key thing is, and this is what I'd want to leave for all the people listening, is you continue to be member focused. So what drives you is the things that are going to help create a vibrant business climate for West Michigan that is relevant to every single business leader in this community. And for that reason, everyone should be a member. And I'm not just saying that for my own bias, but because you need someone in your corner. And so when I think about the unknowns for the future, and there are many, knowing that you have a team that you can rely on that is advocating for the things that matter to you as a business leader, that makes all the difference.
Because it can feel lonely sometimes.
Absolutely.
As a business leader out there trying to do your best. Well, Jen, we are forever grateful for your service, for your impact. You know, you're not only a member of the best Leadership Grand Rapids, one of the best, but an alum of Leadership Grand Rapids, an Athena Leadership finalist, your chamber board chair as well. But thank you for being awesome and essential to this business community.
Thanks, Andy.
And if you want to learn more about your Grand Rapids Chamber and how you can get engaged, just take a quick trip over to grandrapids.org. Thank you so much.